You won't believe what happened the evening my son's colleague stopped by our home. What he revealed, quietly, almost shyly, changed the way I saw myself and the life I thought I'd already figured out. Before we begin, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from. And before you start listening to the story, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. It truly helps. I still remember the hum of the dishwasher the night Daniel brought his colleague over. I'm Lisa, by the way, minus 52, a mother who thought she'd already lived through all the surprises life had to offer. But that night proved me wrong. Daniel had told me earlier in the week that someone from his office needed a place to drop by and review some project notes with him. His name's Aaron, he said casually. He just moved here. Doesn't know many people yet. When they arrived, the sun had already dipped behind the backyard maples, leaving the kitchen bathed in those soft amber tones that always make my house feel warmer than it really is. Aaron stepped inside with a polite smile. He looked about 28 or 30, tall, composed, and with that slightly nervous energy people have when they're unsure if they're intruding. But there was kindness in his eyes and something thoughtful in the way he scanned the room. "Thank you for having me, Mrs. Carter," he said. "Oh, please, Lisa is fine," I answered, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "You're welcome here anytime." They settled at the dining table with laptops, occasionally murmuring about deadlines and spreadsheets, but I could feel Aaron observing the house itself, the framed photographs, the old oak sideboard, the small imperfections that tell the story of a lived-in home. Every now and then our eyes met, and he'd give a gentle, respectful nod, as if acknowledging the comfort of simply being in a safe, warm place. After an hour or so, Daniel got a phone call from a coworker. I could tell it was work-related. He paced, brow furrowed, and he eventually stepped outside to take it privately, leaving Aaron sitting at the table with me in a sudden and unexpected quiet. He closed his laptop slowly, almost deliberately. "You have a beautiful home," he said. "Thank you," I replied. "I've been here most of my adult life. It holds, well, a lot of memories." He hesitated, his fingers tapping softly on the wooden table. "It feels like the kind of place where someone actually sees you," he said, "not just passes by." There was something vulnerable in his voice, something earnest that caught me off guard. I wasn't used to hearing men his age speak that way, and certainly not to me. I raised an eyebrow gently. "That's an unusual thing to say," I told him. "What makes you think that?" He gave a faint, almost apologetic laugh. "I guess it's the way you move around your own space. You're present. Most people rush through their houses like they're rushing through their lives." His observation struck me more deeply than I expected. It felt like he pointed a light into a corner of myself I hadn't checked in a while. Before I could respond, he added quietly, "There's something else I wanted to say, something I didn't plan on saying." I felt a soft tension rise between us, not uncomfortable, not crossing any lines, just a moment suspended, waiting. And that was when he told me something I'll never forget. For a moment, Aaron didn't speak. He just folded his hands together, looking down at them as though arranging his thoughts carefully, respectfully. The room felt still, the kind of stillness that settles right before someone reveals something personal, something that has weight. When Daniel invited me, he began softly. I was nervous. Not because of the project, but because I'd heard about you before meeting you. I blinked, surprised. "Heard about me? From who?" "From Daniel," he said, offering a small smile. "He talks about you more than you think. How you hold the family together. How you're steady. How you're someone who listens, even when people don't say much." My heart warmed at that, though there was a pang too. A reminder of how often we parents go unnoticed in our own households. "He said all that?" I asked quietly. Aaron nodded, and I guess I was curious. Curious about what that kind of presence feels like in person. The honesty in his voice made me sit back slightly, taking him in with new eyes. He wasn't being forward. He wasn't crossing any boundary. He was speaking like someone who had been wandering through his own life wishing for a moment of real connection. Before I could respond, thunder rumbled softly outside, the kind that vibrates through the window panes. A storm had been creeping in all day, and now the evening sky flickered with distant flashes. The power dimmed for a second, and the kitchen lights buzzed back to full brightness. It's been a long time since I've been in a home that felt. He paused, searching for the right word. Alive. That's the only way I can describe it. I tilted my head. Alive? How so? He gave a small exhale, as if relieved I didn't dismiss his sentiment. You move around with purpose. You set the table with intention. You listen fully when someone speaks. And the way you looked at your son earlier, like you understood him without needing to ask questions. It's rare. Most people don't look at each other that way. His words were gentle but disarming. I wasn't sure anyone had noticed those things about me in years. Middle age has a strange way of making you feel invisible. Yet here was this young man, sitting in my kitchen, describing parts of me I never thought anyone saw. I found myself leaning in slightly, elbows resting on the table. Life teaches you to slow down, I told him. Or maybe age does. You start paying attention to what really matters. He smiled, not a quick, polite smile, but one that unfolded slowly, warmly. I wish someone had taught me that earlier, he admitted. Most of my life feels like it's been lived at a sprint. The sound of rain began tapping against the roof, a soft, steady rhythm. It filled the silence between us, giving us a moment to absorb what had been said. Aaron, I said gently, what made you think you could tell me something so personal? You barely know me. He met my eyes with a sincerity that startled me. Because you listen, and I needed someone to listen today. There it was, the truth behind his words, the vulnerability he'd been circling around since Daniel left the room. Not attraction, not confession, just a young man seeking a space where he didn't have to pretend to be composed and confident. Before I could ask more, the back door creaked open and Daniel stepped inside, brushing rain off his jacket. Sorry about that, he said. Work crisis. Aaron straightened slightly, the moment between us settling quietly into the air like a bookmark tucked gently into a story not yet finished. But the look he gave me, grateful, steady, told me the real conversation was just beginning. The storm outside grew heavier as the evening wore on, rain streaking across the kitchen windows like hurried brushstrokes. Daniel and Aaron returned to their laptops for a while, their voices low and focused as they worked through whatever deadline loomed over them. But even as they spoke, I could feel Aaron's earlier words still hanging in the room, quiet but unmistakable. When the project was finally wrapped up, Daniel stretched his arms and let out a long sigh. I think that's everything, he said. We can finish the rest tomorrow. Aaron nodded, closing his laptop. Thanks for letting me work here, he said. It's different from the office. His eyes flicked toward me for the briefest moment, and I caught it, an unspoken appreciation, a silent follow-up to the conversation that had been paused, not ended. Daniel went upstairs to grab something he'd forgotten in his room, leaving us again in that soft, steady quiet broken only by the rain and the low hum of the ceiling fan. I began gathering the empty glasses from the table, but Aaron stood quickly. Let me help. You don't have to, I said, but he was already collecting dishes with a gentle care that surprised me. We moved around the kitchen almost in rhythm, me rinsing, him drying, both of us speaking only in small, comfortable remarks. It felt natural, effortless, the kind of simple cooperation that usually takes years to build between two people. At one point our hands brushed as I passed him a plate, a small accidental thing. But instead of jerking away or laughing awkwardly, Aaron paused just slightly, his fingers steady, his expression thoughtful. Not inappropriate, not forward, just present. You know, he said softly, it's strange how some moments feel heavier than others, even when nothing is really happening. I looked at him, unsure where he was going but willing to follow. What do you mean? He placed the plate gently onto the drying rack, wiping his hands on a towel before turning toward me. When you talk, you're not just filling silence. You make space for someone else to exist in it. Do you know how rare that is? I wasn't sure how to respond at first. Compliments at my age often come in the form of polite remarks about cooking or furniture choices, not about presence or emotional gravity. Life gets quiet in a different way once the kids grow up, I said. Maybe I've learned to notice things I didn't before. Aaron studied me with a kind of calm understanding that felt older than his years. Maybe that's why talking to you feels so easy. There was a warmth in his words that reached me unexpectedly, like sunlight through a window I didn't realize was open. Just then, a sharp crack of thunder rolled across the sky, loud enough to make both of us glance toward the windows. The lights flickered, dimmed, then steadied again. He exhaled. Looks like I might be stuck here until the rain lets up. You're welcome to wait it out, I told him. No sense driving in this. He nodded gratefully. Daniel still hadn't come back downstairs, probably lost in whatever he was searching for. The house felt unusually still, like time had slowed to make room for something delicate, something forming quietly between two people who hadn't expected to share more than a few polite words. Earlier, I said gently, stepping back into the conversation he'd begun before, you said there was something you didn't plan on telling me. Something important. He hesitated, not fearfully, but as if choosing the right way to open a door that shouldn't be rushed. I'll tell you, he said softly. I just want to say it right. His voice had a steadiness to it, but also a depth, a kind of truth waiting to surface. And I knew, standing there with the storm surrounding the house like a curtain, that whatever he was about to reveal wasn't small at all. It was something that would stay with me, something that would shape what happened next. Aaron took a deep breath and finally spoke, his words deliberate, careful, but carrying a weight I couldn't ignore. I wanted to tell you that I've never met anyone who made me feel so seen, not just noticed, but truly understood, and I've spent a long time feeling invisible. His confession hung in the air like the soft drizzle outside, gentle but insistent. I felt a lump in my throat, a mixture of surprise and warmth. It wasn't romantic in the way novels dramatize it. It was something purer, simpler, a human connection that cut through the ordinary rhythms of life and left a mark. I walked closer, drawn by the honesty in his eyes. That's a rare gift to receive, I said softly. And to give. I think you've given me something too, reminded me that even in quiet, ordinary moments, people notice, care, and understand more than we realize. He nodded, a small, almost shy smile forming. I guess that's why I wanted to say it tonight, because life feels too short to leave things unsaid. For a moment, the storm outside seemed to soften, the rain shifting to a light, steady patter. The kitchen smelled faintly of lemon from the dish soap and worn wood from the old oak table. It was a safe, intimate space, and in that stillness, something between us shifted, not dramatically, but with a gentle significance that I would carry with me. Daniel finally appeared from upstairs, holding a notebook. He glanced at us and gave a small, knowing smile, clearly sensing the quiet change in the room. "Everything okay down here?" he asked. "Yes," I replied, smiling back at him. "Everything's fine." After a few more minutes of light conversation, Aaron realized the rain had eased enough to drive safely. He gathered his things, thanked us again, and paused at the doorway. "I just wanted to leave you with something," he said, handing me a small notebook he brought along. Curious, I'd opened it and found a collection of reflections he'd written, about gratitude, about noticing the small, important things in life, and about people who make a difference simply by being present. There were no grand declarations, just quiet wisdom captured in neat handwriting. "I think you'll understand these better than anyone else," he said softly, giving me a nod that was almost a bow before stepping out into the night. After the door clicked shut, I sat at the kitchen table, flipping through the pages. His words resonated deeply, reminding me that connection isn't always loud or dramatic. It can be subtle, tender, and profoundly meaningful. I felt a new sense of clarity, a reminder that life's surprises don't always come with warning, but they leave us richer for the experience. Daniel came over and placed a hand on my shoulder. "He seems nice," he said, a quiet pride in his voice. "More than nice," I replied, smiling at the notebook in my hands. He reminded me that being seen matters, no matter your age, your life stage, or your circumstances. That's a gift I won't forget. I leaned back in my chair, listening to the gentle rhythm of the rain and feeling a calm contentment settle over me. That evening had been unexpected, profound, and quietly transformative, a reminder that life has a way of connecting people in ways we never anticipate, and that even small moments of honesty and attention can leave lasting impressions. And as I closed the notebook and looked out into the night, I realized something. We never stop discovering new layers of connection, even in places we think are ordinary. Sometimes the simplest encounters leave the deepest marks.